Hello, gorgeous people, and welcome to another TV Central one-on-one podcast. I'm Aaron Ryan. This is episode 69, 2023. The Last Year of Television returns for 2023 to Foxtel and Binge with another hilarious, perhaps shameless and cheeky look at the year that was. Host Mitch McTaggart is an Antenna Awards winner and nominee with the Sydney Webfest and the Australian Teachers of Media Awards. He's a presenter, actor, composer, writer, and he joins me today. Mitch McTaggart, thank you for joining me here at TV Central.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
The backside of television and the last year of television could be considered piss takes or calling out people in the media. Some might say bitchiness, others completely honest. Almost everyone says hilarious, though. What is the agenda behind making these programs?
I think I just love TV so much that I want to be able to chat about it. So that's probably the primary agenda there. It's wanting to just, shine a light on stuff on a format that I enjoy and adore. And that's kind of it, I think. That feels right.
Well, I'm guessing that some people think that you don't like television because of the way that you call it out. But like you said, that's the opposite.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always funny when there's that kind of assumption, because if I hated TV so much, why am I on it? Like, surely I'd find some other medium entirely to talk about it or, you know, do things. It's just, and also I think diving back into the history of it all and, uncovering so many obscure things you wouldn't be able to do if there was some kind of like sense of chore or burden about it. But yeah, I hope that silences the naysayers once and for all.
um, some people might think that you hibernate most of the year and then just come out for these television specials. But you've had quite a few projects going on. What does a normal week look like for you?
Well, I mean, the hibernating thing is pretty accurate, actually. There's a lot of just watching TV and stuff, but like not a huge amount. That's a thing to point out. I think there's this expectation that I'm just sitting watching TV 12 hours a day, which is just not true. Like I exercise, I cook things, work on other little projects here and there. This year I was did a little thing on ABC for what the FAQ, that Chaz Littradello's show. What else did I do? God, I can't even remember what's happened in the year. It's been really a long year. It's very sustained amount of work that we've put out. I don't know. You were pretty comprehensive in my intro. What else have I done?
Well, composing. I mean, you write the
Oh yeah,
the theme stuff too. Are you actually still teaching?
No. That was a couple of years ago now. But that was fun.
Hmm. Look, I'm sure the program has been cost effective for SBS in the past, and now Foxtel. You are the everything for the show. Is there a team at all?
I feel like you're setting me up to brag. I I do all the research and the writing and the editing, but that's only because it's just all in my head and it's easier. It's not necessarily born out of any skill. um, I enjoy doing it as well. So I think, to go back to your question about whether or not I'm hibernating, doing all of those things really does take up quite a bit of the time in a satisfying amount. I mean, I'm not like frantically running around trying to do everything and wear so many hats. It's just a really nice process to put it all together when it's just mostly me doing it. And my creative partner, co-producer James, he takes care of the artistic side of it, like the look of it, and it just makes it look absolutely stunning. And that is surely 80% of it.
No. There must be tons of research you do, but then there also must be something that sort of maybe pops up in March where you go, now take note of that, grab some clips because that's definitely going to make it to the end of year special. How does it work for you?
So I'm harvesting clips as we go through the year, and it just gets added to a big document that won't necessarily end up in the final version, because well, actually, case in point for this year, had we done all of the segments that we'd kind of flagged, the special would have run for like 3 hours, which is impractical. It's far too long for a recap. No one wants to relive the year they've just lived in that level of detail. So we kind of have to pick which ones make the cut based on, what is going to be funny is probably first and foremost quite important. Whether or not other people have covered it and what their angle was. So we don't want to just rehash the same kind of stuff that everyone else has already done. Yeah, I think that's kind of the way it's all put together. But it really helps having a document to refer back to, because 2 months after the fact, when I've noted something down, I look at it again and go, oh God, I've already forgotten that. Like it's quite strange to have to be reminded of those little things, because otherwise you just forget. And I think that's one of the things that I think our show does kind of well, is kind of really drill down into those niche, forgotten little bits and pieces, because we've grabbed them at the time rather than just kind of like tried to remember as best that we can in November.
Yeah. You can't get any more niche than Doug Mulray on The Extraordinary from, I don't know, 1980 or 1990 something as well.
93 it was.
93.
Actually, that's another thing that I'm not sure who will appreciate this, but I go to great lengths to find the specific air date of clips. So where possible, like I find it quite a challenge. It's actually quite fun. Put on a pot of tea and dive back through, looking through like newspaper articles and all that kind of stuff to try and determine when this specific clip went to air. And it's satisfying to find it, and it's really quite frustrating when you can't.
There must be some content in which you write the intros and you think, this is too far, or even the opposite. Should I push further? How do you come to a final decision?
Not really sure. Most of it is just coming straight out of my brain without considering where it's kind of sitting. And then my script editor just looks at it and goes, yeah, it's cool. So I guess I never really go into writing a segment thinking that we're going to be controversial or not. I think it's we just kind of go where we think the story should go. Yeah.
So that means we should be expecting some George Pell moments this year.
Yeah, there's one or two little digs.
All right, let's have a look at this year's special. Probably start by saying not a huge fan of Leah Bartlett's work.
Look, I think we all have jobs, and it's fine to have a job. I'm not going to begrudge someone that. I think, I'm sure we've all had a certain moments where we can look at our own work and go, oh, maybe some days I've worked better than other days. And that's probably the most I'll say on that.
I wasn't expecting a politician answer for you on that one. In a more serious moment, you talk about the helicopter disaster at the start of the year and a lot of networks' decision to show actual footage of the crash. But just holistically, where do you think the line is when networks have footage like that, or car accidents, or dead bodies, or victims of war and stuff like that?
I reckon we've gone so far with it that we can't ever really step back now. And I think it's just getting progressively worse in terms of what is broadcast, because there's just a need to kind of shock and keep people watching, which once that those wheels are spinning, they can't slow down unless we all do some big kind of collaborative reset of news, which is just not going to happen. And I think it's I don't even have a solution. I don't understand where everybody's expecting that to go, but it's only going to get worse. And I'm not even sure if there's like a breaking point for it. I think it just will get worse, and that's that, which is kind of grim.
When sort of disasters strike, like floods and things, that obviously networks come in with their helping hand and stuff. You noted a lack of sincerity in coverage, such as when sponsors give money away. As long as their name gets mentioned 100 times, within that, or whilst shopping in a store, or when reporters are shaking hands with people, touching their shoulder, giving them a hug, right on cue. I get the point of that, but do you think it's all that so insincere?
I think there's sincerity behind it, certainly. I think I question how much of it is genuine sincerity. I think there's certainly some people in the big chain of television making who would see it as an opportunity to associate names and get money spinning and all that kind of stuff. But I'm hoping, and I don't have any proof of this, I'm hoping that there is there are good people who are genuinely making a difference, and it's not all entirely cynical.
Mm. There's a segment about a long shot of a log that absolutely hilarious. I wouldn't even ask you a question on that, but look out for it at around the 10-minute mark of the special. Very simple, but very funny. I want to ask you about a segment you did this year about it shows that following a timeline, but referencing things incorrectly, such as perhaps being in 1992 and having a song playing that was released 2 years later, or a character that was killed in 1985 but then somehow appears in a court case in 1995 years later, which couldn't be. Do you have any behind the scenes info on that? Is it just pure laziness, confusion on the writer's part? Why does that happen?
It's a great question. I wish I were there on set to figure out how those kinds of things happen. First and foremost, it's really fun pointing those out, because the show that you're talking about, because they made such a point about the years of things being important and then proceed to just show that it doesn't matter at all. And I think maybe the easiest way to the easiest guess would be that the prop makers of like the physical props, like newspapers and all that kind of stuff, weren't really communicating much with the, I don't know, director or something, whoever person that is. And perhaps the maybe post-production team weren't sourcing the right kind of footage or logos to put onto the screens once it hits the edit. And so obviously people shooting that wouldn't have been aware of what they were going to put on screens later. And so it's a little bit anachronistic in that sense. But yeah, look, I think I'm also quite mindful of, we never really want the show to just be us relentlessly pointing out really petty failings of drama. But it's fun. I just want to reiterate that. And I think there's a time to talk about that kind of stuff when it's so excessive, like, because there's so much of it that makes it worthy of pointing out. And I hope we find that middle ground with being silly and jokingly nudging people to just maybe aim a little bit higher.
I don't know if anyone else in the audience, but I must say I felt a little bit stupid afterwards. I mean, some of the songs you may not notice, but to be pointed out the fact that someone actually was killed in one particular year in a flashback, and then they're actually alive 2 years later, and I just never noticed, because I've watched these shows that you pointed out. I think, how did I not notice that guy was supposed to have been killed 2 years later, but he's sitting there, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
That's the fun of it, really, isn't it? It's TV.
Yeah. So surely the Ruben K project joke will get a segment.
Certainly, yes. I think we've. I had quite a bit of fun piecing together that whole timeline of the Jesus joke being told, and then the fallout from it, and all of that kind of stuff, and putting it in as concise of a thing, so people can kind of understand that, was there ever really that much mainstream outrage for it? And I think the answer is no. No, there wasn't.
Hmm.
But yeah, that one's particularly fascinating, and we pursued that because we couldn't find anyone that had really analyzed it in any grand extent, and so I think it's actually one of the longest segments in the special, and it's all just about a single joke, which it's niche and it's specific.
Exactly. You also went with Rolf Harris. Is that one of those segments you wonder if you've gone too far?
Look, I don't think so. You can't defame the dead, so that's already a big tick. Um, and I think also just people kind of forget that obviously he was UK based for most of like for the remainder of his life and stuff, but he did a lot of Australian TV, especially like, I mean, early days kind of stuff. And there's so many clips of him just on Australian TV and hosting Australian TV shows. And so I think it would be remiss of me not to bring him up because of how substantial his appearances were just throughout his life on Australian TV.
Well said. Very touching. Uh, are we going down the Ben Roberts-Smith rabbit hole?
Oh
Surely.
God, that's already exhausting me. It's well, we get got a mention in there and a couple of jokes at his expense, and I think that's a win.
Yeah. One of the most hilarious things in the ep for me is the use of extras in TV shows, that they appear in the background in a cafe and then they're in the crowd of a courthouse. Two things. A, how did you notice this? Because it doesn't seem obvious until you point it out, and then it's ridiculously obvious. And B, do shows just reckon nobody will notice?
Yeah, potentially. Look, I think I feel kind of bad for some shows when I point these kinds of things out, because again, the primary goal is just like, here's a bit of a joke, haha, let's move on. And so I think ultimately the specific problem you're pointing out with the recurring background extras, it feels like a cost thing, and so I don't really want to go at a show for not having enough money to have more cast in it. That seems a bit unfair, but also at the same time, it is. I found it quite obvious when the background extras started repeating, and so I think then it kind of becomes like, well, we can point it out. It's a bit of a laugh. They didn't even change outfits, and the way that I noticed was that I spotted one of them in a they were quite a noticeable background outfit, and they were walking kind of obviously, clearly here's an extra walking at the background of
Yeah.
a shot, and then saw them again and thought, that's weird that they've repeated, others repeating. So then I went back and looked through it, and then like, yep, oh, there's more. There's a couple more there too. Great. And it's the one I think that we like doing, especially with drama and stuff, is if each drama thing can have like its own funny thing that we kind of prod at, that I think makes it kind of cool and keeps it varied and diverse. Like, in one drama making fun of the time anachronisms, or in this one making fun of recurring background extras. It's, yeah, I think if everything was the same kind of criticism, then I think that becomes quite stale.
Mm. And finally, I gather you will cover Ray Martin on A Current Affair with the Ali Langdon ripping into him.
Yeah, that was probably for me the strangest moment of TV this year, because to come back onto a show that is now perhaps so foreign to you, ideologically speaking, and argue a case that, like, you're Ray arguing the yes vote, and A Current Affair kind of probably pretty much being on the other side of it. Although, I doubt they'd uh, consciously take a side, like, and announce it publicly. But just for that scene to play out was so strange, and just two uh, eras of a show now just completely incompatible with each other. Really, real baffling stuff.
Mm. I just want to like check in with you on this one. I could actually talk about this particular moment forever on a current affair, but just the one question. Because I think this was the actually the most misrepresented moment of the year. Unless I'm wrong, because I gather you've seen a lot more footage. I did not see any footage or anything from Ray ever where he said that people that vote no are dickheads. His point was that if you're voting no simply because you don't know, then you're a dickhead. So rather than not knowing, get some knowledge, find some facts, do some research, and then vote yes or no. It doesn't matter. But just voting no because you don't know is stupid. That's how I saw it. I don't. Ali was suggesting that he was calling no voters dickheads. Have I missed something?
No, that's a fair read, and it was sneaky of a current affair to make it seem like Ray was just calling all no voters dickheads, and it's yeah. Look, I think I hope that I'd hoped that everybody was kind of taking those kinds of interviews with a grain of salt, because there's always, people are always going to put their slant on it and try and push their argument in one direction. But it was pretty sneaky how they kind of did a bait and switch there, and yeah, which just meant that Ali Langdon was saying dickhead a lot, and was kind of leaning into the name calling and kind of repeatedly referring back to, no one likes being called a dickhead, Ray. But what are you talking about? Like, that's not really what was being discussed. It was really quite disappointing.
Mm. All right, let's insert one of your segue graphics here. All right, away from the show for a moment. I'm just finding a bit about you. What interest do you have outside the media? Because for me, it is watching TV 12 hours a day. You seem to like a few other things as well. But what else are you doing outside of them, like outside of the media, just personal interest?
I like music. Music's pretty good. I can play a couple of instruments. That's fun. Um, what else? There was plenty of stuff. I feel like a lot of my year has just been kind of doing just this, and I haven't really had like a chance to um sit and do stuff. I like cooking. That's really fun. I find that quite relaxing actually. Um,
Right.
and yeah, that's kind of it.
And writing post-it notes.
Yes, a couple of those.
This is a video chat. I can see a million post-it notes behind Mitch. That's why I mentioned that.
they're all
Um
um they're all actually individual potential segments for backside of television.
oh, there you go. I should try to zoom in on
There's
something.
there's 150 of them. It's actually cropped out on the screen, but there's a lot more in this office.
Wow. Tell me about your Logies experience this year.
This is very fun. It was a delight to go, and was able to put on some fancy gear and sit and bask in the radiance of many celebrities, and ones that I can't stand. And great. It, I was really enjoying it. By the time Daryl's speech came up at the
Ouch.
end, uh, I enjoyed that the most. I was the only one in the room probably genuinely laughing because of the response of everyone around me. It was real delightful, and it's weird because it's obviously the first time I had gone to the Logies. It's completely different experience being in the room. Like, the energy is really truly different, which I wasn't expecting. But there's a real fun electric vibe in the space, which made it really enjoyable.
Nice. And finally, Mitch, you have to have at least one or two hard-hitting, thought-provoking, controversial questions. So are you ready?
Go on.
Fam time. Will the show ever air on Channel 7 and how bad is it?
Oh, I would love to see it. Your guess is as good as mine. Uh, it, it just Channel 7 sitcom. I want to see it. Why can't we? Unfair.
We'll see it soon. And the other hard-hitting question is, in your qualification list, I see that you were a 1989 Coles Fossey cutest baby runner-up. Now, you're as cute as a button. I don't believe you were only runner-up. What did the winner have on you?
Who knows? I gotta take that higher, I think, and investigate that a bit more.
Coles Fossey. That's thinking back there, Coles Fossey hasn't been around since the late 80s, I guess, has it?
Yeah, I mean, so it stacks up time wise, if that's what you're getting at. Like, it's
It does.
definitely not something I made up.
No, I used to go to Coles Fossey, had the tray, and you had to walk along and collect your lunch and all that. Yeah, beautiful.
Right.
All right. Just for some context, I asked about Fam Time because I've covered it on TV Central, and you mentioned it in your opening to this year's special. Rumor now is that James Warburton hates it. That might mean it could air in Q3, Q4 after he's gone, but I'm hearing it might be back sooner than that, but who knows? But anyway, great having a chat, Mitch. Looking forward to the special and really appreciate your time, and thank you for joining me at TV Central.
My pleasure.
That was Mitch McTaggart, writer, presenter, composer, and actor extraordinaire. The Last Year of Television 2023 premieres 28 December on Foxtel and Binge. Well, that's it for this one-on-one podcast. For all the latest news, streaming information, ratings, television guides, and podcasts, head to tvcentral.com.au. But for now, I'm Aaron Ryan. Thanks to Mitch McTaggart. Bye for now.